Episode 12, here with Maria Deleo. Maria, what's it all about? Fruits and roots. Give us a scoop.
Roots. I know, fruits and roots. Lackawanna County's first community refrigerator. It's all volunteer run. Different than, the local food banks in that it's primarily fresh fruits and vegetables versus the shelf-stable items that you would find at food pantries.
Mm-hmm.
So provides a little bit more in terms of nutritious items for people who are food insecure. And we also allow 24/7 access, which I think is important. It helps with kind of the food stigma around being insecure when it comes to, food availability. If you want to go while the library's open, you can. If you want to go at nighttime when it's dark and no one's there, you can do that too. So we're excited. Yeah. We opened August 12th of last year, so we're coming up on our 1 year birthday.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's a huge accomplishment, and it's, from what I've seen, like, it's got a ton of steam behind it. And what's the just so the audience knows, like, what's the actual location of the refrigerator?
So the refrigerator is located outside of the Valley Community Library in Peckville. Big, bright green fridge. You can't miss it. The library's address is 739 River Street in Peckville.
Perfect. And it's right at the front door, right?
Right outside the front doors.
So you won't miss it.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned, like, you probably went this route for a reason versus, like, noting some of the things you just said in terms of nutrition. Does that stem from your original profession or college education in nutrition?
For sure. Yeah. My undergraduate degree was in nutrition and dietetics. I went on to work as a dietitian for several years. While I was working in Syracuse, I got my master's in community health, got a little bit more exposure into, the food world, circled back to go back to PA school, and now I'm back working in nutrition again. So I had a lot of insightful experiences in terms of food insecurity and, eating healthy and how expensive it is and those sort of things.
I think it is so important because obviously, like, any good is good for people who are in need of food, obviously. But if you could provide, like, the right nutrition for them, it doubles because, like, you're a lot more likely to be more productive and like get more out of your days and maybe, like, turn your hard situation around if you're being fueled with the right food. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a really cool approach. And, like, I even noted, like, I saw what you guys accept. So it's basically fresh fruits, fresh veggies, water, juice, but, like, no meat, no seafood, no frozen food, anything like that, right?
Yeah.
I know you kind of mentioned it already, like shelf-stable stuff.
Yeah.
But it's, like, really just, like, the fruits and veggies and juice and water.
Yeah, that's our focus. We have people who leave canned goods and those sort of things. Of course, we accept them if that's what they want to donate. Mm-hmm. But our primary focus is on the fresh produce.
Yeah. And, like, has it been, without naming names, obviously, but, like, has it been mostly individuals or maybe restaurants or grocery stores or distributors? Like, who's kind of fueling this thing, like, for the last 10 months?
We've had such a crazy response from the community when this opened. A lot of it comes from neighbors, just people like you and me who pass by, see the fridge, they, frequent the library. You can drop produce off at any time, so a lot of neighbors do that. But we've also had a lot of, big local donors, different organizations. Primarily for our first couple months that we were open, we were getting bi-weekly donations from Shifts. So Eric Martinelli at Shifts was, so generous to us. And Pasquale's Restaurant 9 in, Tony Sacco, incredible. They were so generous.
Yeah, I know Tony. He's a good dude. That's a good family. And same people from Shifts. I know good family as well there.
Yeah.
It's cool. Like, you do feel like that is one of the things, like, not to romanticize, like, living in a small town and everything, but people do show up more often than not. And, like, say what you will about the pitfalls or downfalls of living in a small town, like, when push comes to shove and shit kind of hits the fan for people, people, at least around here, really do show up for each other. And this is, like, completely anonymous for the most part, which is even cooler because I think most people around here do want to see other people succeed or at least doing well. And obviously food isn't necessarily driving success. It's a bit more critical than succeeding in like a career or anything like that. But yeah, I just think people are all like, I'm always taken back by people's generosity. Like even when you see GoFundMe's pop up or stuff like that, it's like friend of a friend, like, hey, like sure, like I'll donate $25, like because that person's house just burnt down or something. Like I don't need to know them or whatever. And I just feel like there's a lot of people that do show up in that way. But I wanted to ask you, like, what's your why behind this? Like outside of maybe what you've seen through what you kind of just outlined, like through your college and professional career, like I feel like a lot of the times people who maybe made it out of the struggle will go back and like want to give back to the people that maybe they could see where they were maybe 20 years ago or something like that. Mm-hmm. But like I said, like I've known you basically your whole life and a good chunk of mine. And we were never going hungry. Like we were raised in Italian households with moms and grandparents who are good cooks and stuff like that. So I know you and I both were never going hungry. So like, what's your driving force behind all this?
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly what you were saying about the neighborhood, the people, our neighbors are giving back to each other. My whole idea of the community fridge, it's not a new concept. They're all across the country, but it's new to Lackawanna County and kind of this part of the state. So I had gotten the idea because I had seen it somewhere else, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I wonder if there's a need for something like that locally here. Mm-hmm. And that's when I reached out to Kristen Sokolowski, who is my co-founder of the fridge. She's involved in a fridge project in Philadelphia, which is where she lives.
Oh, nice.
So I very strategically chose her as a co-founder because I knew she kind of had some insight. And obviously there is a need for something like that in Philadelphia, but it took a lot of research and looking into the statistics and things locally here, and surprisingly to find, I mean, the amount of food insecure people locally here is more than I even realized. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily that I experienced it and I'm trying to, get other people out of it, but it's to kind of prevent it from getting worse.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's cool that you're like being so proactive about something like that, just because like when you're founding something, it's different than like, it's very easy. Like you could have just waited for somebody else to do it and make your donations, even if it was on a weekly basis. And that's great. But starting something on top of like having a professional career and we don't have families yet or anything like that. But like, so maybe we do have the bandwidth to do something extra. But a lot of people, like sometimes like I catch myself like reflecting and I'm like, am I a scumbag for like starting a business to like, now granted, like I wanted the message to be behind it of like promoting local businesses and everything that we're doing here. So it's not just this like faceless, useless brand. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, should I be spending my time differently? Like, because so all that to say, it's a lot of time to start anything on top of your professional career. Everybody's busy. Everybody has a lot going on. What was like the process like in founding this and getting it set up? Like, is it similar to setting up a business where like you have to have it registered and have all these like identification numbers with the government and all this stuff? So like, because there's a lot of shady shit that goes on with not necessarily like food banks or anything like that, but like not-for-profit organizations. Like you hear about it all the time. I'm not going to name any, but it's like 80% of the donations end up going like not to the bottom or to the bottom line, if you will, and 20% actually goes to what the benefactors are, which is unfortunate. And like obviously there's admin costs for everything, but anyway, all that to say, like what's the process like setting up something like this?
It was a huge learning curve. Even with Kristen's experience with her Philadelphia fridges, she wasn't really part of the startup process of all of that. So we really were starting kind of at square one. We did a lot of research. Is this like setting up a business? Do we become an LLC? Do we, claim our own 501c3 status and, you know, get a tax numbers with the IRS. It was a lot. Like, we talked to banks and lawyers, and I mean, for 8 months before we opened the fridge, this was all just kind of like figuring out what the hell do we do and how do we do this, because from a legal standpoint, you always want to make sure that, you know, you're doing what you should.
Right.
But we ended up going the route of becoming a nonprofit organization under the Scranton Area Community Foundation. So they are local. They're downtown in Scranton. They act as like a fiscal sponsor, like a charitable resource. So all of our funds and all of our donations go into a fund with them. So they basically just hold our money. They are a 501c3, so we don't have to worry about claiming any of that. We are just under their umbrella, which was, you know, very helpful and streamlined a lot for us.
Yeah, I bet. And it's just like, obviously, because it's only you two pretty much managing this, and with Kristen in Philadelphia, like, the burden gets heavy pretty quickly. So probably working under that umbrella is smart. But with that being said, like, now that you've gone through the process and you see what it's like do you have, and you're only 10 months in, like, I'm not trying to put any pressure on you here, but like, is there any future plans for more refrigerators? Because I'm sure, you know, like, for some people, maybe just getting to the Peckville location is tough or anything like that. Do you have any plans in the future to expand?
Yeah. Almost immediately when the fridge opened and, you know, it gained some press, we were in the newspaper and the Advantage and different things. We had several people reach out to us from different communities, from Scranton, from Old Forge, Carbondale. We need one of these here. How do we get one here? And at the time, it was like very overwhelming because we were just coming off that high of opening the first fridge, and now we're like, we have to think about another one already. Like, let's just kind of take a step back. But we do have plans for a second fridge.
Oh, good.
It's in the works. I won't reveal too much at this point, but we do hope to expand in the next couple months.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, because I'm sure, like, a lot of these communities, it's a weird truth, like, I think for us, because we didn't necessarily grow up in it, but we do feel like the trickle-down effects of it, like, where we lived was a coal community. And, like, that's what drove our economy for the longest time. Like, nobody's been in a coal mine now for, or whatever, 40, 50 years. But, like, it takes time to rebound from that, like, what was once a very thriving community in the, like, the greater Scranton area. Basically, like, everybody has to pivot because that was, like, the main focus and what provided jobs for so many people. And this would be like our grandparents in this case. But there's just like these pockets of our areas that are still underserved or underprivileged, because maybe they didn't find the route, like, coming off of that yet, or their parents didn't find the route. And then, like, you're in this disadvantageous position from the get-go. There are these pockets that could probably use them. Like, we have one in Peckville now, like you said, Old Forge, Dunmore, other areas, like these small towns. Yeah, and like, you see it across the board, like other cities across America, like when the industry dies, like Detroit, like the city just suffers so bad. So it's nice to have resources like this. But real quick, I wanted to, because we talked about it before we fired up. So, hey guys, if you listen to the last episode, you might have heard me mention this pain relief cream from Bullhead Botanics. It's a CBD pain relief cream. And if you're anything like me, you might have had your reservations about using CBD products, but I'm here to reassure you that this company's products are completely legit and their CBD is all natural. Bullhead Botanics is a company that started locally here in PA, and they're now selling nationwide. The plant is GMP certified, and each all-natural batch is third-party tested, so you don't have to worry about any of those mystery ingredients sneaking into any of their products. You really get what you pay for with them, and that's quality CBD. They have a whole bunch of products too. It's not just the pain relief cream. Their best sellers are their anti-anxiety chewables that come in fruit punch and black cherry flavors, their high potency pain relief cream like I just mentioned, and their pet calming treats. And I could vouch for these as well. I had a chance, so it's July 6th right now. Wrangler, for the first 5 years of his life, was completely unafraid of fireworks, thunder, gunshots, all that stuff. But just within the past 6 months, the storms have really been affecting him. So I knew the fireworks were probably going to have the same effect. Just gave him one of these pet calming treats. It's a CBD product again, on the 4th and 5th of July. and it really helped them out, getting through the night with the fireworks going like crazy. So these would be perfect for obviously like the 4th of July fireworks, but also any thunderstorms or anything like that. So if your pets are suffering with that anxiety, these are a great choice as well. So go check them out at bullheadbotanics.com and use code LOCAL20 for 20% off your first order. I'm telling you, this stuff works. It's a really good product, and there's no side effects. So give them a shot. Again, it's code LOCAL20, bullheadbotanics.com. I love, I don't know if it's your slogan, but take if you need, give if you can. It's like simple, sweet, to the point, perfect motto, but we got to show the bag.
We got to show the bag.
So give us a rundown on these.
So the Fruits and Roots reusable grocery bags. They are our ongoing fundraiser, so we have them available all the time. We launched this back, I think, just before Christmas. We've sold several since then. They're for sale for $10 typically, but as a locals only podcast special flash sale, $5. So if anyone's interested in a reusable grocery bag, just reach out to us on our social media, Facebook, Instagram. Let us know you watched the podcast and that you loved it, and we'll get you a bag for $5.
Sweet. Yeah, so it's a good way to donate. You get a reusable bag out of the deal because a lot of the grocery stores now are obviously going to that model. I forget so many times, like I'll catch myself in Aldi's or Wegmans, and I'm like, I get to the checkout line, I'm like, shit. Yeah. Like we have so many at the house, and I just constantly forget because I always just like stop on the fly.
Yeah.
So I'm always buying the paper bags. Like it's only like 10 cents or whatever, yeah. But it does annoy me. I'm like, God damn it. Like I have them.
And now you have so many in your trunk. And
Yeah. So that's a perfect way to support. So is that the best way? What's the best way to donate? Like say if they weren't worried about getting the reusable bag, like if somebody just wanted to make a nice donation, a monetary donation, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so that'll be through our fund under the Scranton Area Community Foundation. So you can either go to their website and just search us. Mm-hmm. We have a link right on their website that you can donate to, or we have the link all over our social media as well. Okay. It's on our Facebook, it's on our Instagram, so that's the best way.
And your Instagram handle is just Fruits and Roots CF, right?
CF. Community Fridge, yeah.
Yeah, so you'll see it. But that's the branding on it. You'll definitely recognize the Instagram page, and even like your content. Like I'm looking at it from like a business perspective. Like you guys are doing a really nice job of just like it's weird because like people don't think of just because it's not for profit. Like you still have to have good branding or people aren't going to buy in. Like the message has to be there. The logo has to be there. The branding has to be there. The consistent social media posting. Like it is just like a business, mm-hmm. and it operates just like a business, except you're just a more virtuous person than the rest of us.
When we were starting up, I had a couple people, I won't name them, but say to me, so how are you making money from this? I'm like, I'm not. I'm just laying on my couch making social media posts all night, not benefiting from it for me, but it's benefiting other people. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there is something very rewarding, though. Like you're obviously not maybe filling your pockets, but like not to be cheesy, but like, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. You're filling something else mm-hmm. internally, which is definitely contributes to your level of happiness. And it's not in like a self-righteous kind of way where like you're what's the word, like not like platforming, but like a superiority complex. Like it's not that. No, it's just like it feels good to do good. It's as simple as that.
I know. I always think about like, not to be morbid, but like when you get to the end of your life, whenever that comes, it's like I'm not going to think about what I did at work or, my day to day. It's going to be like who you helped, who you gave back to, the people who couldn't help themselves.
Yeah. 100%. I actually scrolled back to, it's cool that you know that off the top of your head, because this is how you know that you believe this in your heart, because you just rattled that off the top of your head. And I had it as like a meeting note. When you launched this thing on your personal page, the quote that you put at the end of your caption was, at the end, it's not about what you have or even what you've accomplished. It's about who you've lifted up, who you've made better. It's about what you've given back. So that's cool. Your sincerity behind all of this is very genuine. So yeah, good on you. It's a big undertaking that people probably don't really appreciate in terms of setting this thing up. So it's cool to shed some light on that. But I guess
I don't want people to think that like Kristen and I do it all by ourselves either. I mean, we have a very dedicated volunteer group. I mean, we have a group of like 40 or 50 volunteers. Not all of them are super active, but they're, they like to stay in the loop. And once a week, couple times a month, they just stop by. They clean it, they drop stuff off, they
That's
make sure,
awesome.
so it's not just us running it. We wouldn't be able to run it if we didn't have volunteers.
Yeah. Yeah, you need that, like, because like stuff's coming and going. Because I even asked you earlier, like how many times has the fridge been restocked basically in the last 10 months? And your immediate response was like, it's impossible to tell. And like, I'm like, oh, well, that's like a good sign. It's awesome that it's getting filled that much.
Yeah.
But you explained it better. Like what actually happens?
It would be impossible to try and quantify the amount of donations that we get. It happens at all times of day. At night, by the morning, what was there yesterday is gone, and it's new stuff.
Right.
I mean, the turnover is absolutely incredible. Someone might drop stuff off at 7 p.m. and I might go at 8 p.m. and it's gone. So I don't even know it was there.
Right.
So to try and figure out how much has been donated, and we've tried to figure out a way of how we can even, figure that out.
Just like
but it's
ballpark it, yeah.
It would be impossible almost, I think, unless we were sitting there at all hours of the day just watching, which is going against kind of what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it anonymous, no stigma. We're not watching you, it's at your, will if you need it. But the turnover is really crazy. And you can see it on some of our social media posts. Like there will be like from 4 p.m. yesterday to 9 p.m. that same night, like it's empty. It was full and now it's empty. And then by the next morning it's full again. And that's not me. I don't know people are dropping it off. It's just always constantly turning over and refilling itself.
That's awesome. Do you think, like, in your opinion, would it be advantageous to you, because this is like a simple lift for you, and they're doing it anyway, where like, say I wanted to, I don't know, because then it like takes away like the anonymity of donating, but like say I went down there with a big order and I filled half the fridge. Would it be advantageous to you and the people using the fridge if I tagged you guys like on Instagram, said fridge is full, simple as that, and just you guys could share it on your story? Like, do you think that helps the people who are frequenting the fridge, or is it just better to just keep it like completely anonymous and just you kind of hope that it's full when you get there, or if you needed something? You
can kind of see both sides of that. That's essentially what our volunteer group does. So we use an app called Slack, and when volunteers stop there, they show you what it looks like at that time. You take a picture, you send it. Is it full? Is it empty? I had to throw whatever out was rotted, or, this was dirty, or that's essentially what the volunteer group does.
That makes sense.
But there have been times where it's been full. They send me a picture. It's super full, and I'll post it on social media, and then within hours it will be empty because people see that it's full. So sometimes I leave it alone, and it's just, if you happen to go that day, you're super lucky. And other times I want people to know it's full. So,
finding
here's
a balance
the post
between the two.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I was going to ask you how and if like you and the volunteer group were communicating. It's all through Slack basically. Yeah. That's cool. Because like if say like my mom wanted to go down and clean out the fridge, like she could like log in and be like, oh, somebody just did it like 6 hours ago. I don't need to.
So we would have to add, and we're always looking for new volunteers, but we would have to add her either by her phone number or her email address to the group, and then she can just send a picture whenever she's there.
That's cool. And what's the best way to get in that Slack group? Is it just like DM you guys through social media, like, hey, I want to get involved in some way or whatever?
Social media or email. A lot of people will email us, which is the same, fruitsandrootscf@gmail.com.
Okay, easy enough.
Yeah.
That's cool. So I guess like in the same vein of like you guys expanding, like say somebody's listening to this and they're an hour away So somewhere maybe you guys aren't going to touch in the future. And somebody wanted to start something very similar in their community, what would be like the best, like 3-5, like actionable steps for them to take, from what you've learned, like to actually get this thing going? Like, how do you, like, what's step one?
Mm-hmm. Step one for me, I would say, was reaching out to other community fridges to see how they function, where they get their funding from, where they get their donations from. I mean, I spoke to community fridges across the whole country, Miami, Washington,
Oh, really?
DC, all over the place, just to see how differently we can try and run it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would probably recommend doing that first. I would look into donors for sure, different ways that you can get like local donors, grants. I don't think a lot of people realize that a lot of local organizations and even bigger companies have this thing where they have to give back so many dollars to the community every year.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a lot of money that way through different organizations and different companies, just by simply applying. I mean, there's links on so many websites, banks and healthcare companies, and you just apply for a grant, and they just, if it's something that they think aligns with their goals, they'll give it to you. So we've fundraised a lot of money. A lot of the people in the community, give us donations, but we also get a lot from bigger organizations too.
Oh, that's cool.
So I think that's helpful. And I think the important thing is just it takes time to set something up, but it's rewarding, and
Mm-hmm.
no action is too small.
Yeah. I agree. And like, just to piggyback on that, like, because you said it takes time, like, I would tell anybody who might want to start it, like, in the same approach that you guys probably took, like, be patient, be diligent, and like get to the end goal in launching, but be patient where like you don't half-ass it, because very similar to launching businesses, and I've had this conversation in the past with other people, not that like I'm this expert, but like I've just noticed that like people get so excited about their idea and they don't have everything lined up for the launch.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to get the idea out there and get the feedback and get the word going. But like it's something as simple as like having your Instagram page ready to go. So it's like when people are going to your Instagram page the first time they hear about it, there's actually something to see, and they could figure out what you're all about,
mm-hmm.
rather than just going to one block and it's like coming soon with a picture of a refrigerator. Like, have some social proof, have the logos, have your mission, have your like background story, like about us, like why I did that, like why we did this, all of that stuff. Like, have a landing page of some sort, so people could really get behind what you're doing early, because you only get, like, it's cliche and you've heard it a million times, but you only get it one chance to make a first impression.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes true with this as well, where I think you guys did a really good job of that. Cause like when it got blasted over social media, obviously, like anything like this, people love to share because it's a great cause. Like, why wouldn't you share it? It's 2 clicks for you and it helps the entire community. But when people were doing those clicks, they knew exactly why and what they were sharing. So just be diligent and patient, but also don't use that as a buffer to like bullshit and like not get to your launch.
Yeah. We pushed back our launch date several times. I mean, I had first called Kristen about this December of 2022, and we thought by April, May, we'd be ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
We're opening the fridge June 1st. That's what I was set on. And then June came and went, July came and went, and then August 12th we finally opened, but we were ready to open at that point, and it was the best day. It was because we were ready, we were prepared, and the turnout was great.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think there's so much to be said for that. In the grand scheme of things, like, so when you're ready to launch, like pushing it back a month or pushing it back 2 months from June to August, it feels like the end of the world. It's like, oh, like we didn't meet our goal. And like you feel like, not that the world is crumbling, but it's like you're missing your opportunity or something like that. And in the grand scheme of things, those 2 months are nothing in comparison to making sure you're ready and doing it right. and maximizing your immediate audience in that launch period. So yeah, because I mean, like, this thing is probably going to be around like for as long as, like, it'll be around for 30 plus years. Like realistically, it probably will. Like, why would it ever go away?
Yeah.
Like, and like maybe to the point where, you know, like if you have a family or something someday and it becomes too much for you, like there's so many volunteers, like people who would pick up, like you did the hard part, like managing it, not to undermine like what the amount of work that goes into it now, but the hard part is starting it.
Mm-hmm.
Running it is slightly easier, not easier, but slightly easier.
Yeah.
than starting it. So yeah, it's just kind of zoom out whenever, if somebody is starting this or any type of business for that matter, just kind of be patient, but also diligent in your approach. So while I was kind of prepping for this, I was just kind of like running through my head. So I know, like, you don't accept meat and all of that for various reasons. Obviously, things could go wonky there, but being that we're surrounded by deer down here, and I know you had an interest in hunting. I don't know if you still do. I know, like, you shoot and dabble, because obviously your brother Mark is my best friend, and I've known your entire family forever, a family of hunters. I was just kind of like jogging my brain while I was showering. Actually, I was like, I wonder, like, it's a shorter amount of time, but like with the amount of deer hunters in this area and the yield that you get from a kill. Now, a lot of people, like, they really value that meat and like probably wouldn't want to give it up because your window is small. You could only get 1 to 2 deer a year and stuff like that. And people like filling their freezers with it. It's great, nutritious meat. But a lot of hunters, I think, because like you could come out with like 100+ pounds of meat off a nice sized deer, and a lot of it probably does go to waste in freezers and stuff like that. And it was just like kind of got my brain ticking, where I'm like, I wonder, like, come October through December, if there was like a way to just like help people get through a winter. Like, it would have to be freezers and or something like that to like kind of give them the opportunity to get some really nutritious meat as well. I don't know, but like, what I guess, like, from your perspective, what are some of the struggles with filling a fridge or freezer with perishable food like that?
Yeah. The reason we don't accept, and it's not that we don't, because I'm sure I've gone and there's been things in there that are fine and they're dated, and I'll leave them there because I know someone's going to come in the next couple hours and take it. But meat and dairy products and eggs and those sort of things, milk especially, it's like you don't know where it came from, how long it's been sitting out before someone put it in there. Liability wise, we are protected, you know, like, no one can turn around and sue us. There's like a thing called the Good Samaritan law. I mean, if you drink the expired milk, like, I'm not responsible for that, but I also don't want it to happen. Right. So because of that, I mean, we just remove those items. It is clearly posted on the fridge that we don't accept them, but they still make their way in. I think people don't want things to go to waste, so they figured they'd put it in there rather than just get rid of it, but then we end up having to get rid of it anyway. Right.
Yeah, that would be tough, because especially with deer, like, it's completely like you have no idea about it at all. It didn't come from a shelf. It came from the woods. Like, was it kept properly to the point where it was frozen? Yeah. Even if it is frozen in there, like, is it a year old? Is it 2 weeks old? Like, it would have to come from, I mean, like, you obviously, I would trust that you kept it, you know, correctly. We have done things in the past where we post on the fridge in advance that we're going to be giving out. Like, for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, we did prepackaged meals, Thanksgiving turkey dinners, Christmas ham and we had different organizations donate them to us, but we had posted it for several days leading up to that. We will be here on this day between these times giving out these dinners. So I think it maybe if we did something like that, where people knew it was going to be there and it came from reputable sources and people, and we can get it to the people, like, kind of right away. Like, it's not sitting in the fridge undisclosed. It's like, yeah, I know. 'Cause, like, I'm just thinking, like, it is a small enough window of time, like, especially rifle season, right? Like, it's only 2 weeks. So it's like, hey, if you go get your deer butchered or you butchered it yourself or something, and you know the last time you did that, you ended up with 20 pounds of meat in your freezer that's a
Mhm.
year and a half or 2 years old, and you ended up having to throw it out. Like, you could still take home 80 pounds of meat from the deer you just harvested, and then maybe donate like 10 pounds of like really nutritious, healthy venison.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like, it would probably take like a big chest freezer or something like that. I don't know. This is just like my brain gets going, and this not like the more I'm talking about it, this sounds like the most redneck thing ever, the most redneck charity
I
of
mean,
all
no, it
time.
goes
Just
back to not, food waste. It's
yeah,
we don't.
it bothers me. Like, I've done that before. Like, I thoroughly enjoy venison. I enjoy cooking. Like elk, all this stuff. But like, if like me and my dad get a deer in the same year, like, we're sharing meat or like going back and forth, or if he gets one and like I don't, like, we're sharing meat. And like in a year where we both get one, like, and we don't share it, like, there's been multiple times where like I've had to throw out deer meat, and I'm like, God, like, this pains me to do it.
Yeah.
Number one, because I killed it, and like that, I feel like I wasted a part of that animal. Then like I enjoy the harvest and everything it provides.
Mhm.
But yeah, like, it really, really irks me. Even like with food around the house. I was just talking about this, like Kristen knows, but like with my buddies, like people who don't take home their leftovers, are like, I don't eat leftovers. I'm like, dude, like, that's perfectly good food. You don't
Yeah.
have to cook and you don't have to clean. Like, it kills me to throw away food. And like with groceries, like, being so expensive and everything
Yeah,
right now,
yeah.
like, I'm not throwing shit away. Like, I'll find a way to cook it.
Mhm.
I have ground turkey sitting upstairs right now. It's like 1 day past the expiration date. Like, I'm 100% cooking it tonight. Like, I'm not throwing that shit away. It was
Yeah.
like $12. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like a cheap bastard when it
Yeah.
comes to stuff like that. But also, it really bothers me to throw food away.
Mhm.
I think I was like, so as I was having that conversation the other day, we were out to dinner with like a bunch of our friends, and everyone's like, nah, I'm not taking my leftovers. I'm like, you guys are crazy. And I was like trying to figure out why I am programmed like that, where it bothers me so much. And it's great. Like, so my dad's mom, I call her name's Johanna, but we just called her Hannah. So she was born in Italy and came here when she was like 9. And like, just a crazy story. Like, didn't know any English. Like a ton of immigrants around here. Like a lot of our grandparents or great grandparents came from Italy, Ireland, all of the European countries with everything that was going on. So she told me a story once. So I used to like cut her grass, and then I'd sit with her and my grandpa for like a half hour just to catch up after they meticulously watched every move I made down there. And she told me a story. She could remember being a little girl in Italy, and it was like one of the last years she was there. And I think this is like under Mussolini and like everything. It was like communist Italy, basically, or like under dictatorship. And they were like busting into homes all over the place, just like taking jewelry, like taking like any like personal belongings of like any worth. And ultimately, like, that's why so many people immigrated to the United States. But anyway, she lived on like a little farm or whatever, and she said she could remember having a half a boiled egg for dinner one night as a little girl. She was probably like 7, and asking her mom for more, and her mom said like there's no more food. So it's like, I don't actively think about that, but like I probably do think about that like once every 3 months.
Yeah.
And I'm like, to think like how fortunate we are, like me and you, not everybody,
Yeah.
of like the amount of food we have at our disposal at all times, and like the funds to just go to the grocery store or order food or go to a restaurant like whenever we want, and like the surplus, like you go to a holiday, like just the quantity of food that's available to us.
Mhm.
While people are in that position, and it's not Italy anymore, it's right here in our backyard. That's like, that's just like the gratitude. Like, I don't ever take it for granted how much
No.
food, like,
No, we shouldn't.
yeah,
Especially because you just said holidays. That made me think when we did our Christmas dinners, NEPA Gives, I don't know if you're familiar with their organization, they donated 100 Christmas dinners to us. Our Metas prepared them and
Oh,
packaged
really?
them for us. And I had posted that we're going to be here this time, between these hours. And several people messaged, I can't get there. I'm older grandmothers who I have, my 6 grandkids. We have no Christmas dinner. We have no, whatever. I literally got in my car and was just driving these dinners around to people because I was like, how can I eat my Christmas dinner tomorrow knowing that like these kids, like this is what they're going to remember.
It's so crazy. Like, and you just get so used to it. That's all like gratitude practice where it's just like, it's hard to practice gratitude if you never see the other side. Like, this is just normal for so many people because ultimately, like, the last 50 years in America have been relatively easy for a lot of people. But there's still a lot of people that are struggling on the opposite side of that. But, like, we never had a draft. We didn't live through World War II. We didn't live through all these things that, like, the general population, I'm not taking anything away from, like, people who served or anything like that, but ultimately life has been easy because of those people's sacrifices here in America for a lot of us. And like for so many people, you're just not exposed to the struggle. So like you probably get so many messages now like that where it's just like you're exposed on a different level, and it's like how do you go through your daily life like not taking your leftovers or not donating your extra food like whenever you can, when you're hearing stories like that on a continuous basis. It's just insane. And like it's like that for so many things. Like it's like right now we're talking about food and groceries and stuff like that, but like it's in other cases it's people's healthcare, in other people's it's whatever. Like there's just like there's the flip side of every coin, and it's just good to like put yourself in scenarios, I think, to at least be exposed and have an appreciation for what you have, whether you're in that situation or not.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's wild.
I also think I misspoke. I don't know if I have to tell you this. Did I say NEPA Gives? I meant NEPA Strong. I don't know what I said.
Yeah, I think you said Gives.
It's NEPA Strong.
Yeah, well, either way, NEPA Strong.
Okay.
We'll correct it.
Somehow correct that, please. I don't want to slight them.
We'll splice it back in there. Listen, and people like, I'm fumbling over my words over here, and like if you misspeak, like it's nerve wracking on a podcast. We're only 12 in, and this is your first one.
Yeah.
Like, hey, cut us a little slack here. It's harder than it looks sometimes, because it is just a normal conversation, but it's like you also want like the flow to go. Like it's like Anyway, circling back to the deer hunting thing and like how nutritious that food is, and your mission behind like a fresh refrigerator versus like shelf stable stuff. Like, I guess, what are you doing now professionally? Like that, now that you said you circled back to the nutrition world.
I did. So I work for Geisinger as a PA in the nutrition and weight management department.
Your worlds collided.
They collided. Yes, they did.
That's cool though.
We circle back to what we know, I guess. Yeah. So I mean, I love it. It's what I know, right?
Yeah.
I have, both of my other degrees in nutrition and public health, and tackling obesity.
Nice. I'm always curious, like, because obviously like I'm genuinely interested in nutrition. Like I actively seek it out on like social media and people who are like podcasts and stuff like that. And it does seem like there's such an evolution happening, or like revolving back to simpler times, like talking about my grandmother asking for another half of a boiled egg. It does seem like we've overcomplicated the food system so much, and ultimately it just comes back to like getting away from convenience and circling back to like whole nutritious foods, like some of the stuff that you could get at the refrigerator, or like a deer that you could harvest in the fall, as opposed to like protein bars or granola bars with like sucralose and all that shit in it, and artificial sweeteners and stuff like that. Like where's your stance on that? Like maybe in the sense of like just cutting. Like what's like some broad advice you could give to somebody who maybe just wants to like clean up their diet a little bit? Obviously, case to case, I get it. And these are broad stroke statements here, but like just broad knowledge, like educate us.
It is very patient specific. And I always tell people this, like, if it was as easy as just diet and exercise for everyone, wouldn't everyone be doing it and losing weight that way? Weight loss is very multifactorial. So going back to the basics, I mean, you'd be surprised. I'll ask patients, what have you tried for weight loss? Why are you coming to see me? Well, I haven't tried anything. Well, what does your diet history look like? Give me 24 hours of what you eat. And I mean, right off the bat, I can pick things. Why are you doing this versus this? Or why are you drinking that versus... But I think that people just don't like, for me, it's obvious when they tell me their diet history.
Right.
Why would you choose that over something else? But for them, for whatever reason, is it convenience? Is it cost? Is it so going back to just general, what do we consider healthy eating? Fresh fruits and vegetables, exercising, of course, which looks different for everybody and their limitations. Drinking lots of water. I mean, there is nothing better than water when it comes to beverages.
I have to catch myself every once in a while. And it's like not broadly used, but you could apply this to anything. Like, don't confuse thirst for hunger or the inverse.
Yeah.
I think there's so many times, and you could use that as like a metaphor for a lot of things, but sometimes literally too. Like a lot of times, like, especially when I'm working from home, like if I just have like 20 minutes or something, like, oh, let me go just see what's in the fridge that wasn't there 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, like if I just have like half a glass of water or a glass of water, like I'm good. I don't actually need, even if it is a healthy snack, like I don't need a handful of almonds. And those are like sneaky things like that. Like that's an extra 200 calories because, it's a healthy fat. It's a nutritious snack, but I didn't need it. Like a glass of water. And like, I noticed a difference. Like if I could practice those healthy habits. So it's like good to drink a good amount of water every day, like whatever they say, like drink a gallon of water a day or whatever it is. But also it's just like catch yourself, like instead of reaching for the snack, like chug a glass of water and see if you're still hungry after that.
Yeah. I think we do that to ourselves in a way too, because now there are so many like protein shakes and liquid calorie things that replace meals. That are you hungry or are you thirsty? Because now you're doing both by drinking.
Yeah.
So, and I'm guilty of it. I mean, I drink protein shakes and, sometimes in place of a meal.
Yeah.
But it's like, was I hungry or was I thirsty? Because now it helped with both of those things.
Check both boxes and it's like you feel somewhat satiated, but it's like, I don't know what I really need right there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I've been trying to just simplify my diet like as much as I can. And like, I'm not a lunatic. Like, and I don't have a six pack. I'm not ripped or anything, but like if we go out with friends, like I'm still going to get whatever. And like,
of course.
If I'm like had one too many alcoholic beverages, like I might get some chicken wings or whatever, which are not the best, but like, as long as like the 80%, like the 5 days of the week, like when we're cooking, like I am just truly trying to go as simple as I can. Like even in the sense of like bread and stuff anymore, where it's like the sourdough movement and all this thing, like all this shit you see on TikTok and everything. But it's like, it's real. Like if you could just eat like 2 eggs and a piece of sourdough toast for breakfast, and then like a salad with some chicken and berries in it for lunch, and like a piece of salmon and white rice or whatever kind of rice for dinner. Like this, truly, like the simpler the better. And like I feel a lot better when I'm making like those decisions. And obviously that's not groundbreaking statements there, but to your point, I think a lot of times just in conversations I've had, like people don't realize it's a knowledge thing and a price thing, to your point, and like everybody's different, where it's like, man, like I just had no idea that was like a 1,200 or like 1,500 calorie meal. Like I just thought it was a little pasta with Alfredo sauce, but it's like, bro, like there's a lot of shit that goes in that, and like it's
Yeah.
fine to indulge every once in a while, but like
It's also
it's
like,
not like 3 times a week.
for me lately, is how do the foods that I'm eating make me feel? Because,
Mhm.
like, I loved, like, Pizza Friday. I love to indulge in it. But then consistently, week after week, I feel like crap
Yeah.
after I eat all that pizza.
Yeah.
So, like, during the week, I'm so good with, like, breakfast and lunch. It's just fruit, lean meats, no carb. Like, I feel so good during the day.
Mhm.
And then, like, dinner time is usually where I screw myself.
Yeah.
But, like, just keeping it light and, like, it makes me feel good. You feel less bloated. Like, you feel more energized.
Yeah.
It's, it's in general, your meals should always contain like a protein and a fiber.
Mhm.
That's what keeps you full. So protein, fiber, which can be your fresh fruits and vegetables, and then your starches should always be last if you still have room for them.
Yeah. I think it's to your point, like it's such a chain reaction thing where like, and again, like it's because everybody has heard this where it's like, if you eat this way, you'll feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And until you actually feel it, where like you have a one full week of like, you don't just have a day where it's like, no, like I have a good energy today. Like I'm going to go in the garden and do this and this and this, like after work or whatever. Or like, maybe I'll go for a run this morning. Like sometimes that just comes across as like a one-off day because you ate well for 1 or 2 days and felt the effects. And like people don't tick and tie that back. It's just like this one-off occurrence. It's like, oh, nice. Like I'll just have I was good today. Like I went for an extra run or did whatever. But it's like if you could string 5 of those days together or 7 or 10 of those days together, and you could really notice a sharp contrast of like your previous 2 weeks to that current week, that's when I think people really start realizing the food mind connection, if you will, or like food gut connection, or just the energy levels. Like even and like I think like intermittent fasting it's just a way to eat less calories, in my opinion. Like it's just like if you're just consuming less calories because you're probably going to eat one less meal that day. Whatever, but
right,
like,
you can't confuse intermittent fasting with skipping breakfast.
Right,
it's the same thing.
Yeah, and like whatever works, it's fine. But like I catch myself like if I wake up early enough, and if I have a cup of coffee, and don't eat, because like sometimes I'm just routine. Like I tell myself I'm hungry because it's 8 or 9 a.m. And that's breakfast time. But like realistically, like my dinner was big enough, like my body's still burning off those calories. Like I don't need it. When I don't eat breakfast, I am way more likely to like maybe go for a run on my lunch break and then have like a nice lunch. And it's just a chain reaction, because like if I were to wake up and have, even if it was somewhat healthy, like eggs, bacon, and like a bagel, which is not maybe the best, well, then the run doesn't happen and you consume more calories. And then it's like, well, screw it. Like, I'm not working out today. I didn't get the run in that I was planning on doing. And then you just eat. So it's just like a compound effect and like a chain reaction. And then it just trickles into so much of your life where it's like, if you could get like good, nutritious meals in, I think it benefits every factor of your life. It's really hard to like articulate until you feel it.
Yeah.
But all that being said, I like your approach with the fridge because it provides that opportunity for people who might not otherwise have it.
And if you are, really food insecure, we still recommend, on the fridge, we have posted all the local food pantries, the days and times that they're open. We still need you to utilize that as, like, if you're trying to feed a family of 5, like, the fridge is not going to do that for you. It's just meant to be a little bit of, like, a nutritious supplement to what you can get at the food pantries.
Yeah. Would you recommend, like, if somebody is bringing a lot down to the fridge to donate, like, if I had, like, 3 bundles of bananas, like, should I break them up so, like, they could maybe get stretched further or something like that? Or I'm trying to think of, like, another example. But ultimately, like, if you have bundles of foods, like, kind of portion it up for people so maybe more families could get access to it rather than just one family having to take, like, 7 bananas.
Yeah, of course. Bananas is a good example, just breaking up the bunch so that they're singles. I also if there's been times where I've gone over and people will leave like bags of baby carrots, which like that's a lot of carrots
Yeah,
for
there's a
one
lot in
person to
there.
take. So I'll just run back to my parents' house. I mean, they're at my disposal around the corner.
Yeah.
So
It's
shout out
nice
to
that
them. They go over to the fridge a lot for me. I'll go get some Ziploc bags and I'll open the baby carrots and separate it into like 3 or 4 different bags. That way, I mean, more people, if they need all 4 bags of the baby carrots, then, that's fine. But to give other people the opportunity. Our other donor that we get things from is Orlando Foods. They give us cases of water. So same thing. Like I would never just put the whole case of water in there. I always, separate them.
Yeah, that's a good approach to take, just because, yeah, like, and I think like there's a lot of like cynicism, like as much as we said, like to kick off the podcast, like how there's so many people in the area who would take like the shirt off their back to help out other people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of cynics too, and it's like you would think like, these friggin' bums, like they're just don't want to, because like groceries are so expensive, like they're gonna go down there and take all that shit because it's free, and like they don't give a shit about other families. But I would say, now, is there a bad apple in every bunch every once in a while? Yes, but
Yeah.
that's true with anything.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, I would assume like 99% of the people going down there are more than happy to just like maybe not take everything that they need to feed their family of 3 or 4 and just be like, you know what, I could leave these other 4 bananas or carrots or waters for somebody else, because like they probably recognize like the good that's being done for them as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of people probably reciprocate that. Yeah, sometimes like when people are cynical like that, I'm like, bro, that's more of a reflection on you than anything else. Like,
and I'm guilty of it. I mean, especially when we first opened, I felt like I almost had to think that way. Like when we had our grand opening, I don't think I slept for the first 3 days.
Really?
Because I was so nervous that I was going to drive over there and the fridge was either going to be stolen, vandalized, or completely empty. Like I was just, what are these people going to do when they see it? Kids riding their bikes, through the park and different things. And like I've gotten random reports like, oh, the kids took the corn and they used it to go fishing in the river or whatever. I mean, there are worse things.
Yeah. Not ideal, but not the end of the world.
Yeah, but it really is just like neighbors helping neighbors, and the people who are using it know it's always going to be there, and they only typically take what they need.
Yeah, it's a cool initiative you got going. Outside of like some of the organizations and like bigger companies or restaurants and stuff like that you mentioned that contribute, like on an individual basis, where's that coming from, you think?
So I mean, it can be you're at the grocery store, pick up a little extra produce, drop it off. Things you have at your own house that you think you're not going to eat, drop it off. As long as it's in good condition and it's something that you yourself would eat, certainly bring it to the fridge. We say even if you're going away for vacation or for a holiday,
That's
long
a good call.
weekends, drop your
vacation
produce
season.
off there first. Yeah. It's also gardening season. So, we rely a lot on people's gardens. At any given point, it's full over the summer of tomatoes and cucumbers and, heads of lettuce, different things. That is what we primarily rely on for the summer and, early fall months. So certainly if people have a surplus of garden items, they'll always be welcome at the fridge.
Cool. Yeah, I feel like that's such a thing too. Like if you have anything over like an average sized garden, like it's all at once and it's too much. Like you always hear like the old man neighbor just like coming over with a friggin' bundle of tomatoes and it's like, I don't know what to do with them. Like there's too many all at once. So yeah, that's a really good call. And like everybody has so much shit going on in the summer, like maybe people aren't thinking about it as much because they are going on vacations and stuff like that. But that's another good point where it's like, hey, like don't clear out your fridge and throw everything away because you're leaving on Saturday. Like take it right down, take it to Peckville. It's going to take 10 minutes and you're going to feed a whole bunch of families. So no, that's a really good call, because like you could only do so much with like 9 eggplants at once and stuff like that.
Right. We had a guy in town donate a cabbage last year. It's on social media. You can find the picture of it, but it was bigger than my head.
Really?
2 of them, and I'm like, where did you get that? It came from my garden. He's like, what am I gonna do with this? I'm like, what are we gonna do with that? It's taking up the whole fridge, but someone took it.
Yeah.
I mean,
make some cabbage and noodles or whatever the hell would do it. You use cabbage for pigs in a blanket? Is that what a pig in a blanket is? Well, there's 2. There's like the little hot dog one. Are those pigs in a blanket?
Hot dog ones?
Like in the little croissants, those little things? Is that what they're called?
No.
What are those called? I thought that was like pigs in a blanket too.
No.
And then like the real
The
pigs in a
real
blanket
pigs
is like cabbage and whatever meat in the middle.
What are the little hot dogs called?
I thought those were pigs in a blanket
My
too.
mom makes those hot dogs.
Yeah, she does. Your mom's a good cook. Best chocolate covered strawberries on earth.
Yeah,
Something about them. She even puts bow ties on them.
she does.
She's good.
Only for Moose.
Yeah, only for Moose. The amount like Moose finds his sneaky little ass into every podcast in one way or another. It's insane.
Oh
I'm sick of talking about that kid. No, but it's awesome. It's a really cool thing you and Kristen started, and props to you on that. Ton of work, and yeah, the community definitely appreciates it. We'll definitely maybe we'll come up with some sort of promotion on our end too. So you have the bags. So if you guys want to make a donation, you could do that, or just do a monetary donation, or obviously stop at the fridge with anything at any time. But yeah, maybe with we have some summer stuff coming out soon. So maybe we'll figure out a deal and get a portion to donate back to the fridge, or fridge number 2 even. We'll get it going.
Number 2 in the works.
Cool. Well, thanks, Maria. Thanks for stopping by and
Thank you.
giving the rundown on it. And yeah, if you're listening and you're not within our greater region, or want to get involved, definitely reach out to. I keep wanting to say Fruits and Roots on Instagram. Get involved. Lend a helping hand. Always appreciated. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Maria.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right.